Hi there, I'm Emma. I was a co-op student with Brilliant Labs. Now I'm a university student. I'm here with Art Clean Energy today.
Hi Emma, I'm Alejandra. I work as a co-op student at Art Clean Energy. I've been with them for 8 months, and yeah, I am ready to answer all your questions.
All right, great. So why is your company interested in small modular reactors instead of other innovative clean energy technologies?
Yeah, so Art Clean Energy is interested in small modular reactors because of the advantages that it has compared to other clean energy technologies. So, for instance, nuclear energy is 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, nuclear is able to provide the power that we need to meet our energy demands. So this reliability of nuclear energy allows us to have a stable grid, meaning that we wouldn't have like power outages if there wasn't enough sun in the day. As well, small modular reactors have a small footprint since the size to build that it's not a large size, and therefore it reduces the impact on the environment. As well, it is easier to implement this in communities where they don't have the geographical requirements to build like a hydro plant or a wind farm. It allows them to still have a clean energy source, even though they don't have the requirements.
All right, and thank you. Can you help explain how small modular reactors work and why this technology is significant to help reduce with climate change?
Yeah, so small modular reactors work the same way as the nuclear power plants. So they produce heat from the fuel. This heat steams the water, which that will become steam, and this steam would turn a turbine, which will turn a generator, and the generator will produce electricity. So that's basic nuclear power plants. The difference is that the small modular reactors are, as the name says, smaller, meaning that they produce less amounts of power. So a small modular reactor produces around 10 to 300 megawatts, where a regular CANDU reactor, which are, for example, the one in Point Pro, produces 700 megawatts. So the size of power is lower. As well, they use different materials for the coolant. So a CANDU reactor uses heavy water to cool the fuel, and a small modular reactor uses liquid sodium. So just like the liquid metal sodium to cool the fuel. So that's a little bit of a different technology. So for example, Art Clean Energy is developing a reactor that produces 100 megawatts and uses liquid sodium, and 100 megawatts can power up to 120,000 homes. This type of technology, so the other part of your question is why is it significant to help reduce climate change? So this technology is reliable, flexible, affordable, and sustainable. Like, what does this mean? Really, it just means that it can produce consistent amount of energy, and it can be used as a base load power. So typically fossil fuels are used as base load power. So nuclear can also be used as a base load power. Since it's flexible, and it also can be load following. So let's say in New Brunswick, it's a really windy day and we have this wind turbines generating lots of power. We don't need that much. So then nuclear can lower its power output and allow the wind turbine to take over, right? And the same idea goes if it's not sunny that day, then nuclear can hype up the power to the amount that it generates to provide enough energy. Also, because this technology is modular, is scalable and affordable, it can be built around the world, therefore assisting other regions producing the energy they need in a clean manner.
How can you help explain how small modular reactors work and why this technology is significant to help reduce climate change?
Yeah, so small modular reactors, the way they work is the same idea as regular nuclear power plants built nowadays. So they produce heat, and this heat generates steam, which turns a turbine, and this turbine turns a generator, which produces electricity. So the difference between a small modular reactor and a regular power plant is that a small modular reactor is lower, it produces lower power. So small modular reactors have from 10 to 300 megawatts of electricity. They produce that. And CANDU reactors, for example, the one at Point Lepreau produces up to 700 megawatts. So the other difference is that they use different types of coolant. A CANDU reactor uses heavy water, and a small modular reactor can use, for example, ARC uses liquid metal to cool the reactor, and other designs use different types of coolant.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you. What steps must be put into place to continue the elimination of greenhouse gas until the desired net zero emissions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to eliminate greenhouse gases completely, it'll always take time, right? We first need to ensure that we're using clean energy sources to be able to offset this dependency that we have with greenhouse gases. But this also means that we need to understand this clean energy technologies, not only its benefits, but also its limitations. So for a wind power turbine, maybe its limitations is that if it's not windy, then it won't produce as much energy, right? So we need to be able to not only have clean energy technologies, but also have a technology that is able to follow, load follow, or be a base load like nuclear. So if we are able to use all the energies together, use wind, solar, and nuclear, and even hydro together, then we'll be able to eliminate the dependency that we have. Also, the government also has to play a role by getting these targets, like the one that Canada set by 2050. We should have net zero energy production. So they also need to continue to set regulations for businesses and processes that will continue to utilize fossil fuels and emit greenhouse gases. But also the biggest thing is that we can do is to educate, to become educated and advocate for clean energy sources. So the more people understand the energy sources out there, the pros and cons, the more we can make informed decisions and be conscious of the energy we consume.
All right, and building off of that, how many reactors would you need to be implemented by 2050 to reach the projected target and year of net zero greenhouse gas emissions?
So the amount of ARC 100 reactors that we would need would depend on the sources of energy that we're already using. So for example, here in New Brunswick, we use hydro, we use biomass, we use oil, we use wind. So depending on what we have, then we can substitute. For example, if we go to the power plant in Belledune, this power plant produces 450 megawatts. So if we want to substitute it with ARC reactors, then we will have to build around 4 reactors, 4.5 ARC reactors to be able to substitute that energy, right? So we want to change to clean energy technologies, then we will need 4.5 reactors for that specific example. So not exactly sure how many we will need for 2050, but that's kind of the idea. If we want to substitute it with something different, then we'll need to see how much the output of power it's producing, and then substitute it with what ARC can generate.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some of the challenges you foresee with the shift from greenhouse gas to small modular reactors?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge will be social acceptance. So everyone as a community, at least here in Canada, we're kind of used to fossil fuels, and around the world we're used to fossil fuels. So to make a switch to nuclear and all the other clean energy technologies, then we need to teach other people about them, make them understand what we're doing and how it will be beneficial in the long run. Not thinking about just in the short term, what's quicker, burning coal or burning something that is generating greenhouse gases. So because nuclear is already present in our province, there is a lot of awareness and acceptance of the technology, but in other provinces, let's say like Alberta, where there is more production of oil, then that's more acceptable. So if you want to bring clean energy technologies like small modular reactors, we'll have to, teach them and let them understand what the differences is and how it can be beneficial for their province.
All right, and lastly, although small modular reactors can help to mitigate climate change within local communities, how would it fare in larger cities such as Toronto or Winnipeg, who use significantly more energy?
Yeah, so small modular reactors are energy dense. So this means that it can provide enough energy to cities as big as Toronto and Winnipeg. It would just need to be a lot of more reactors. Let's say Toronto needs 700 megawatts of electricity, probably more. Then we'll put 7 reactors in that area. And because of their modularity and their size, it is able to be placed in different areas because it won't require as much space. And even for remote areas, let's say northern New Brunswick, where you don't get that much wind or you don't get that much sun, you can place, and it needs less power, you can place just one small modular reactor and it'll produce enough electricity for the area.
All right, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.